Welcome. We're going to begin a new video series called The Grammar of Graphics. You've already seen much of the graphical capability that is available in the Tidyverse, but what we're going to do now is try to systematize it a little more. And I'm going to do this through a couple venues. One is that I'm going to have my images to first of all start with an overview. Then I'm going to show you some scripting in R, but then I also want to go ahead and bring a Grammar of Graphics cheat sheet into the picture and go through some things on there so that you can take what we learn here and expand it beyond just what I show you. Because I'm not going to be able to show you everything. There are so many possibilities in terms of creating graphics, but I want you to be able to take that cheat sheet and go beyond what we talk about here. So I'm going to implement that into this video series as well. But let's start with discussing an overview of the grammar of graphics. The grammar of graphics is actually a grammar that was created by Leland Wilkinson, who is a well-known statistician. He is the author of the package that I primarily used when I was in graduate school called Systat, but in 1995, he sold that to SPSS. The Systat manuals that I had, and I still have a collection of them, they encompassed about, I would say about 8 volumes. And they were superb for learning not just Systat, but about statistics. Leland Wilkinson also did some other things. Systat had unparalleled graphics. Basically, that's what you hear about the Tidyverse now and about R, that you can get graphics that you can find nowhere else. And back in the day, in the late 1980s, the early 1990s, Systat was the package to go to if you wanted good graphics. And so when Leland Wilkinson created this, he decided that he would create this language of graphics, which he called the Grammar of Graphics. So that's very intentional. It's just not a catchy title. It's a way of thinking about graphics. And he wrote a book about it. And that book was first published in 1999. The second edition was published in 2005. And then one more interesting fact about Leland Wilkinson. I don't know if you've ever heard about the statistical inference report from the APA task force, but it was really kind of a predecessor to the report by the American Statistical Association that came out a couple years ago. The APA task force did their statistical inference, and APA stands for American Psychological Association. They provide the publishing guidelines and create a manual that governs many of the manuscripts in many disciplines besides psychology, including mine. Anyway, they commissioned some of the top statisticians that were APA members to gather together on a committee and come up with a report to promote change in statistical inference. And Leland Wilkinson was actually the chair of that committee and the first author on the report that was published. So if you've ever heard about the APA Statistical Inference Task Force, it is often referenced as Wilkinson et al. So the Grammar of Graphics was created by a fellow that knew what he was doing when it came to statistics. He taught it through his Systat manuals. He wrote software. He was on the Statistical Inference Committee. And for our purposes, importantly, he created the Grammar of Graphics. The Grammar of Graphics was adapted for R by Hadley Wickham in the Tidyverse. The specific package, because remember the Tidyverse consists of many packages, the specific package is ggplot, which stands for Grammar of Graphics Plot. So if you've often wondered, why is it called ggplot? It's Grammar of Graphics Plot, released in 2005. He greatly revised it and released in 2012, and then he shifted to what he called maintenance mode in 2014, meaning that he wasn't going to add to it anymore. It was basically a final version, but maintenance mode means that if anyone finds bugs, they can report it, and he will fix the bugs, but he's not adding to it. But what he did do in 2015 is he released ggplot 2. And so you will often hear people refer to ggplot 2. That's now the official package released in 2015. And when he released it with an official extension mechanism. What that means is that if you decided, I not only like ggplot 2, but I think that there's something that would make it work even better, well, rather than write to Hadley Wickham and give him your idea, because he's not going to add to that anymore, he basically has said, I'm on to do other things. He has provided a mechanism that you can add your package as an extension to ggplot. So it's sort of like packages for R are an extension for base R. You can write packages that will work with ggplot 2 in order to extend ggplot 2. And I already used a couple of those in the introductory lecture. You remember that I had a couple other packages that I had you install if you were going to follow along with me. Those were packages that extend ggplot 2 by using ggplot 2 language and the grammar of graphics, but they're not actually part of the base initial ggplot 2 package. ggplot 2 is one of the most popular R packages based on the number of downloads. If you look at which packages have been downloaded the most, ggplot 2 is typically either at the top or very near the top. That is an overview and some of the historical items of interest about the grammar of graphics. We'll look at an overview of all the different parts of this grammar in our next video.